Chapter 7. I really did not like that blue lady. The way she was painted was different from the rest of the painting, and the way she just stood there looking at me. It gave me chills. Had she been waiting for me? I watched her for 3 weeks straight. The candle next to me sputtered, and I took a glance towards the table. The candle was not changing, and the flame calmed down quickly. My gaze was forced back to the painting, and I could look at every detail that I could see. Her dress was more modern looking than any painted figure I had to look at. Off-white with an overlay of black with ruffles at the edges. Her hair was blue as the sky of a child's painting, with some green strands mixed in. The wicked smile on her face was as white as mist. The way she looked almost see-through, like mist caught in a shaft of dawnlight. The painting itself had changed a lot too. Where there was once the sea, the window did not show any wave. Too dark to show anything. 2 distant lights burned in the blackness. They could be lanterns on another shore. The lady in blue held a thin candle in her hand, but no light reached her eyes. Behind me, the sound of dripping water reached my ears. A quick turnaround did not reveal what it was, but something wet was falling onto the bare stone. It felt like the sea was falling from her world into mine. I could tell myself it was only the pipes or the Artemisian at their tricks. Did I give them too little cheese after all? I had no idea what to do. I tried to do my work, to follow the rules. When there was a character in the painting, it was my job to look at the character and write down what they do. That was what I was told. But the urge to look away deepened every hour. Looking at the woman in the green dress felt like I could look at it freely. This woman demanded my gaze, making me feel more tired than ever. Another reason to have my eyes fixed on the painting was the rustling sound behind my back. First, I thought it was the Artemisian, but then I remembered the mess and realized the red-robed people were here. They had entered the room while I was in there. It made me nervous. I tried to talk to them, my voice faring a bit better since I had practiced. "Hi, are you here to get me more food?" No reaction. Only the faint scuttle of movement behind me. The sound of dripping water became slightly louder. "Is it normal that there is someone else in the painting?" More rustling, but no answer. Eventually they left again, and I was stuck with her. The candle's flame flickered violently in the stillness. There was no wind. That smile turned more cruel by the minute. She finally left, and I was shaking in the dark. The woman with the blue hair and the blue eyes had finally left the painting. For a while, I had avoided looking at that canvas again. I did not trust it anymore. The darkness slowly consumed the painted room she had abandoned. 2 lights had vanished too. A pressure was put off my chest, and I loosened up. The faint, slight pinch I had in my arms was gone too. I went to the resting room. Outside, the sky had turned dark. The ever-dancing lights appeared from under the trees, weaving themselves among the leaves that were red and pink. The soft lights, which were sometimes few and sometimes in large groups, always managed to cheer me up. Someday, if I could find the door to the outside, I would walk to the clearing. I wanted to dance among them. We do not have fireflies where I come from. Another random memory that filled my head. Without a subject to observe, I needed to wait. Either until the woman returned, or until someone decided I had done my time here and let me out. That was when I heard it. A faint, distant tink. The dripping sound had stopped long ago. At first, I thought the building was settling again, its old bones shifting. But it never sounded like this. This was the sound of a bell. Just once at first, so soft it might have been in my mind. Then again, closer. Tink, Tink. Slow and patient, as if the sound itself were moving with the movement of an animal. More bell sounds. Tink, tink, tink. I felt a knot in my stomach. The hairs on my arms raised. With dread in my heart, I went back to the room with the painting. I stayed in the hallway, leaning just far enough to look at the empty canvas. Was it coming from there? No. The sound was farther away, muffled by the halls with thick carpets. What do? I thought. The room with the painting was not a place I wanted to be anymore. It felt like a threat now. The idea of seeing that blue-haired woman again smiling filled me with dread. But the sound of the bell filled me with worry of another kind. Something new was not something positive in my mind. I almost wanted to go back to the slow and boring days that I just sat in the room and watched the painting. But at that moment, the only thing I knew was that I did not want to be in that room. I quickly walked away again. The bell sounded louder in the hallway. I followed it for a while. Tink, a little sharper. It sounded like it came from outside. Every few minutes, I heard the bell chime again. It was guiding me through the hall to one of the newer rooms I recently discovered. It had a window, which was recently repaired. Because of the frosted glass, it was difficult to see anything more. I only saw shifting silhouettes outside. Then the wind decided to show its strength suddenly, and without warning, I felt a push. I took a step back, almost losing my balance and dropping the candle. The window opened with a loud crack, the hinges barely keeping a hold on the frame. Cold air pushed in. I could see clearly what was going on outside, and there were even some lights flickering. Instead of the trees or the tall grass I had seen in other windows, this view showed a large open field. Rows of unknown crops grew undisturbed, dark bulbous growths in the dark night. See? Another ringing of the bell. It came from outside among the crops. A rustling appeared from my right. I quickly turned to the sound to see what it could be. Was it nothing more than a cat? A dog? I stood there with the candle in my hand, but holding it so low, the light would not give me away. Seconds were crawling by without nothing. It took many silent seconds to finally reveal something. The rustling grew louder but more deliberate. The lights had gathered around a particularly big crop, but the crop seemed to move. It crawled closer to the window with more light surrounding it. I saw purple fur, long ears, and some kind of wild mane that resembled cabbage leaves that curled around its neck. When the sky above the creature was filled with the lights, I saw the head of a rabbit. It was a rabbit, a bit weird in color, and the names threw me off, but it was a rabbit, probably trying to eat the cabbage-looking crops that were growing here. Tink. The sound of the bell again. The rabbit looked up, its ears shooting into the air like an antenna. Tink. The sound came closer now, much closer. The bell sounded bright and sharp in the still night. The purple rabbit bolted as fast as it could, taking some small glowing creatures with it as if startled too. I never saw the creature with the bell. It kept ringing that tiny bell until dawn, slow and steady, and every time from a different place. Only then it stopped. I took a sigh of relief. I did not know why exactly, but the feeling of dread finally went away. I probably had to write some things down and get back to that cursed painting. Chapter 8. The painting was replaced a few days later, or what felt like a few days. I was not there when the replacement happened. Just one moment, the empty, dark painting hung there like a dead eye, and the next, a new canvas had taken its place. It was a bigger, framed painting. The thin silver of the frame glowed coldly around the painted canvas. The painting itself showed a grassy landscape rendered with thick layers of acrylic paint. 2 tall trees stood on the left, and a wooden house was visible on the right. The walls slanted slightly inward. I could see the vague outlines of a barn in the far background, half swallowed by brush strokes. The artist put a lot of detail in the piece, while using thick globs of paint to create more texture. This particular painting also had a title neatly engraved into the silver frame. For Alvina Wit. It meant, "Here, Alvina cries." Almost in response to this, the wind picked up again. The howling floated through the halls. A chill ran up my spine. I tried to tell myself it was only wind, but it didn't sound like wind. I could not get used to that sound, so it sounded so human. When I found out the painting was replaced, I also found a new letter, this time on the normal bluish paper with the dark brown ink they usually use. I set the candle down on its usual place on the table and picked up the letter. I read it a couple times, confusion growing with every repeat. I have it transcribed here. Dear Maria, thank you for all your work so far for the cause. We know you are just as eager as us to finish the long search. We gave you a new mission because the old one was corrupted. Our apologies for not handling it sooner, but the footprints were found and followed before they could fade. With this letter, we want to present you with the next task. We took extra care to protect the subject, and therefore we ask you to not break any more rules, as the yellow sun wants it. We want to reiterate the rules regarding your work. This is to ensure your own safety. When the subject is visible in the frame, usually the human, even when partially, you are to observe the subject for as long as they are in the frame. The first 10 minutes of appearance to you, you are able to leave the room and gather all necessities. While you are observing, you have to be aware of every action the subject is making. When you notice a new action or movement, declare this action in detail out loud. To be clear, every new motion is important. Speak only when you are declaring a new action. Speak at low volume. When the subject is not seen, declare this as well. From this moment, you are free to leave the room during the time of no presence. You need to check in with the subject's brain every hour. Declare when the subject has re-emerged and any changes that have occurred to the subject. Do not touch the subject or the frame under any circumstances. Keep the candle near you at all times. Do not respond to other voices of any kind. Do not interact with any other subjects. By the blue sky, we hope you can continue the good work. Your help is invaluable to the long search. Together, we will find the path. With high regards, the Dreamers. I held the letter in my hand. I was so confused. The rules in the letter sat heavy in my mind. The emphasis on subjects, plural. The reminder to keep the candle close. These were not the rules before. And why do I need to whisper? Chapter 9. Alvina turned out to be a happy-looking young girl. She wore some folklore-looking clothes, the kind I vaguely remembered from children's books or museum displays, and wooden shoes. She was playing among the 2 trees, which dwarfed her already small form. Next to her stood a creature. At first I thought it was a goat, but it had a human face and dog ears. Both were smiling wildly while the wind made the branches stretch all the way to the right. Alvina was chasing the little leaves that were twirling in the wind. The painting was so lifelike. It did not move when I looked at it, but it almost felt like it. A pause in the middle of something else. All in all, it was a very nice scene. I never found out what the goat thing really was, but the girl treated it like her pet. The way she leaned toward it, the way its body leaned back toward her, reminded me faintly of a dog from my past. Such a small shard of a memory, a happy dog. His name started with a T, I think. The girl and the goat thing had not moved since they had appeared. They remained exactly as they were. However, the environment had slightly changed every time I looked away to write or grab something. It was clearly the wind that was on the main part of this. The trees bent this way or that. It was almost as windy in the painting as it was here in the building. Every now and then, the wind outside howled so loudly it appeared to talk to me. The longer I was in the building, the more I thought the wind was screaming words to me. Sometimes it sounded more like sobbing, but whatever the wind wanted to say, I could not understand it, and the shrieking still startled me. The wind was shrieking more and more often. I wondered whether the windows were broken again, or that an animal had broken into the building. It made me nervous. I kept whipping my head around to look, even though I know I shouldn't look away from the painting so often. Yet the sound was so close, and it sounded so familiar, like a voice from the past. One of the reasons the shrieking wind always startled me was because I never felt the wind. Several days later, I apparently had created another war with the Artemenian again. I did not know what I had done, but they were pissed off. This was not surprising. They were always pissed off at something, usually me. However, I could not bring food to them. I needed to monitor the painting. I could not leave my post. I did not expect them to attack me in this room, though. All of a sudden, I was blinded by a waterfall of pages, pink-colored paper that looked ripped from a book, fell from somewhere above. Hundreds of pages fell on my head. It kept raining, smacking my head and scraping my shoulders. I swatted at them uselessly. When the attack finally subsided, the girl had vanished from the painting. Okay, I shouted, breaking the rules without even thinking about them. I will give you some cheese. I slapped my hand in front of my mouth, expecting the consequences of my actions, but none came. I blinked a few times, waiting a bit longer, but still no punishment for talking out loud. I wondered if that rule was a real rule. While I put that experience into my half-empty drawer I called memory, I stood up and did what I promised. To be in the clear, I put bits of cheese and bread in every room and hallway I remembered. I was not taking any chances with those little pests. After counting to 3,000 in my head, I had to check the painting. And when I came into the room, I saw the chaos left on the floor. Paper still littered the floor like confetti after a parade. It made me angry, more than I wanted to admit. What the hell is this? I decided to clean it up myself. I knelt down and began picking up the pages. The pages had beautiful handwriting, careful loops and deliberate strokes that emphasized the care taken into writing it all. Some papers had illustrations, some small and covering the entire page. One page in particular caught my eye. The illustration showed a black creature, half dog, half shadow. It was standing on its hind legs, the dark green bat wings spread out. Around its ankle it wore heavy chains, dragging behind him like an iron tail. On the other side it read, "He's a child terror and pulls children into the misty water. The crude can move at immeasurable speeds. and is said to spawn from the cremated bodies of witches and wizards. The monster can sometimes be found in the reeds, under bridges, and inside of hollow trees. The Clood has the ability to change into a wide assortment of animals, such as ravens, snakes, cats, frogs, bats, and even trees that grow high above in the clouds. He is bathed in shadow and dark as one. The only way you can be sure it's him is the heavy chain he has to wear around his ankle. When walking around, you can hear the chain move over the ground. I reread the description twice. Then again, I'd heard fragments of these stories before, maybe long ago, maybe in childhood. I remembered horns. It was certainly a terrifying beast. There was a sound of a bell ringing through the night. Tink. The sound froze me. It seeped through the walls, through the floor, through the marrow of me. I did not go to the window. The sound filled me with dread. Some stories don't ask to be remembered. They wait. If you're still here, it's already too late. This has been Diamonds After Dark. See you next time.